All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all glory and praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem HaKodash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, honors and salutations to the hopeful elect, pushing his word in true sincerity. Or this is the brother to Robert Cloud from GMS Los Angeles / Inland Empire, coming back with another video in the spirit. And once again, the Wadi How Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, for opening minds to his truth. Allow me to wake up another day and putting the spirit on me to do another lesson in hopes to edify and hopeful elect. All right, man. Here we are, so-called 2026, Last night, the brothers out this way in the Inland Empire, we did a live stream, the New Year's Eve destruction, and we kind of touched on, brothers kind of touched on, the Apostle Tahar coining this year, 2026, the year of apostasy, sellouts, and agents, and we know that there's agents among the Israelite community, for lack of a better word, okay, because that's one of Esau's old playbooks. He always has his his spies, his agents that he sends among different organizations, groups, whatever you want to call it, to gather intel, to take that wherever that organization, group down, but the thing is about with this truth, this thing is not of man. This is of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Okay. So this thing can't be overthrown. Esau, the so-called white man, okay, especially, specifically to the international bankers, there's nothing that they can do to upset prophecy, man. Everything that's written in these scriptures is going to come to pass, man. Whether it doesn't matter what Esau has up his sleeve, because everything that he has up his sleeve, the Lord is in control of that anyway, okay? And we're at the end of this thing. We're at the latter end of this man's rulership. And he knows that, that's why he's going to go all out. He's going to throw everything, at the men of the Lord, everything in the kitchen sink at them, but to no avail, So I'm just going to bring out a few scriptures. The spirit just got on me, to do, just push the button, man, and record. I'm just going to go in the spirit. Lord willing, this be edifying to you, sincere brothers, as well as you few sisters out there. All right, this is 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 10. Okay, it says, "But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise." And see, the day of the Lord is going to come as a thief in the night unto those that are unaware, those that are in, those of our people that are not in this truth, okay? And the majority of these people out here in this world, all these people out here in this world don't know what the hell is going on, except for the men of the Lord and them international bankers. They know what's going on. They see that the Lord is coming, but the Lord has put that pride within Esau to think that he's going to prevail anyway. That's how the Lord wants it. The Lord's dramatic, just like he did the Pharaoh of old. He's doing the same thing with the modern day Pharaoh, which is Esau. Okay. Specifically the elites. Okay. So everything that's transpiring right now is all biblical. It's all written in the Bible. Okay. You see all these storms, all these earthquakes, all these signs in the heavens, okay, wars, rumors of wars. You hear all these different commotions, okay? All these things are telltale signs that we're at the latter end of the decline of this man's rulership, all right? And this is the mindset that we're supposed to have. We're supposed to be out here prophesying, teaching this word, hastening the day of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, man. Okay. All right, it says, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up, right? Because when those missiles, those ICBMs, when those missiles are shot upon Babylon, aka America, it's gonna burn everything up. Everything in the society, all these fucking houses, apartments, buildings, grocery stores, theaters, gymnasiums, arenas, stadiums. Okay, all these things here in this society is going to be destroyed. Okay, all the people, all these idols, everything's going to be burnt up. You know, so our mind frame, us that's in this truth, okay, we're supposed to be seeking the kingdom of the Lord. Okay, we're not supposed to have that mindset of trying to, be comfortable here. Set up, trying to set up so-called communities and set up different landmarks here to being in that mindset of trying to establish generational wealth, which that's bullshit anyway, because how you going to establish generational wealth when you're in the hand of your oppressor, man? Okay, here it is. You got the average Babylonian here. They're barely getting by. People are are having to resort to going back home, living with their family. You got multiple generations in one home now, because things are so high, things are so expensive. People can't afford to live on their own anymore, so people are forced to consolidate. And this is the result of a wicked ass society, man. Okay, when you run a society like how this so-called white man is running a society, this is the results you're gonna get. You're gonna get all sorts of chaos, confusion. Okay, you're gonna get all kind of grievances. And that's what people are pretty much doing right now. People are expressing their grievance with this place now. Even these Edomites, these regular 9-to-5 Edomites are complaining about this place, man. How much more the average Israelite? Okay. All right, he says, seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons are ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness? Right. So what should our mindset be? Okay, how should we be out here conducting ourselves? Okay, how should we be walking out here? Okay, we should be walking in this light. Okay, to the best of our ability, we should be, everything that we do should be centered around what the scriptures say. Okay, how we eat, how we behave. Okay, how we do business with one another. Okay, how we how we are among those that don't have this truth. All right, it's a certain criteria that the men of the Lord have to meet. Men have to meet, the Lord willing, become part of that election, man. Because we're not doing our own thing in this thing, man. Okay, this is the Lord's program. Okay, so that's our mindset. That's where our mindset should be. Okay, our mindset should be what the Lord commanded us to do, which is to be on fire for this truth, be brotherly, and and to repent, sincerely do the do the best we can, put our best foot forward. All right, it says 12th verse. It says, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of the Most High. Right. So we're supposed to be hastening the day of the Lord. Okay. We're not supposed to be in this, state of being complacent, man. And a lot of our people are in that spirit of complacency, man. Especially during this time of the year, with all these, these wicked ass holidays, our people are, stuffing their face with all sorts of abominations. Okay. They're getting loaded, drunk, they worshiping these false idols, even though you got all this information coming out, year after year, and information is vast now. Information is so it's very accessible. We're in a time in day and age where information. I don't think information has ever been accessible as it is in this time period that we're in today, man. Okay, but yet you still have a bunch of fools out here. You still have people celebrating these wicked ass holidays, and the information is out there, man. What these days go back to, the origins of these so-called holidays, man. But yet our people still choose to, to celebrate these things, man. But we know ultimately at the end of the day, 2/3 of our people, 2/3 of Israel is going to be destroyed. Okay, whether they hear this word or not, they're not gonna 2/3 are not gonna receive this word. They're not gonna have it within them to rectify their ways and get right with the Lord. But we have to tell them these things anyway, so that their blood is off our hands. Pursuing Ezekiel the 33rd chapter. Okay. But yeah, that's the point, That's where our mindset should be. Okay. Shouldn't be trying to find our place in this world, man. We do what we gotta do. Brothers do what they gotta do to sustain themselves. And that's it. Because our main purpose is to do this work, is to teach this word, man. We're not here on this planet for any other reason, but to serve Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. Okay. All right, it says, seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of the Most High, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. And those missiles are coming, regardless, of what these people out here think, regardless of what the unbelievers feel or how they think, regardless of what these other Israelite camps are saying and doing. None of that matters. The end is still coming. The Lord is still coming, and those missiles are still coming. Okay? And those that don't want to get right with the Lord, those that don't want to get with the Lord's program, they're gonna get melted in that fire, or they're gonna be destroyed in those plagues and those punishments that the Lord is gonna send on this place. Because the missiles, that's the cherry on top. But you're gonna have a series of plagues and punishments that the Lord is gonna bring before those missiles destroy this place. Okay, and then you got to have the chip, the MOTB. Okay, the C-hip, right? That has to come to pass, and the third woe has to come to pass, World War III, and we're quickly approaching that time. Okay, so and the Lord is making it plain this day. Those the naysayers out there, especially those individuals that know that they're Israelites that's out there teaching, those that's strongly opposed that the C-hip is an MOTB. You're gonna have to answer to your congregation, man. You're gonna have to, the Lord's gonna make it look awkward out here for you guys, man. And He's already doing that. Because all this technology, this world that we're living in, that's what the direction of this society is going toward. Everything is digital. Everything's going digital. The way you purchase things, okay, the way you communicate, okay, even these jobs are going to lean more towards the digital, lean more towards machines than human. Okay, so you individuals out there that's still stuck on stupid, talking about the MOTB as Christianity, or sleeping with white women, embargo, whatever the hell that is that you saying. We know you're not. A lot of you ain't teaching that it's the C-hip. You're gonna be looking foolish out here, man. You're already looking foolish. Okay, but your congregation, a lot of people in your congregation are gonna start seeing that you guys are full of shit. They're gonna see that you're not the men of the Lord, man. You're not the men that the Lord have sent. All right. All right. Read on. It says, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of the Most High, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. And that's the ones that's genuine, those that are sincere. That's going to be the elect. The elect is going to inherit this earth. Start, that's the government. That's the government that the Lord is establishing right now. Which is the 144,000, and then and behind them the rest of the the 1/3 of the nation of Israel. Okay, that's the world that's getting ready to come. The world that where righteousness dwells. Okay, righteousness is going to flourish in the earth. You see, because righteousness right now is scarce. It's only among the men of Yahweh Shem Shai and the believers. Okay, but as far as the majority of our people in the earth, they're in a state of wickedness, man. They're in a bestial like state, because the so-called white man Esau, the way he's been governing this planet, he's governing this planet in total wickedness, man. And that vibration is upon the people, the majority of the people here, man. Okay, that's why it's so demonic. You got all kind of spirits on these individuals. People out here just going, committing mass shootings. You got women out here just cold to their little ones. Brutally murdering their little ones. Okay, you got homosexuality at an all-time high. Okay, sex changes at an all-time high. Just wickedness all across the board at an all-time high, man. And we condemning these things, man. We're not sitting here just going with the flow. We're not going along to get along. No, we out here rebuking that shit, man. And last night, like I said, during the live stream, we put those curses up, man. Put those curses up on all these motherfuckers out here, man. And put the blessings upon, the apostles, elders, and brothers, man. Because fuck this place, man. This is it. We have no rest here, man. We have no hope in this society, man. The only hope is the world that's to come. Yahweh Shem Shai. Okay, that's our hope. Okay, our mind ain't supposed to be in this place. All right. It says, nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. Wherefore, beloved, seeing that ye look for such things, be diligent that you may be found of him in peace, without spot and blameless. Right. So we got to do our part. Okay. We got to be accountable for whatever it is the Lord has blessed us with. Okay. Whatever portion of faith, whatever portion of A knowledge and wisdom the Lord has bestowed upon each and every one of us. We're responsible for that, man. Okay. And so we have to really be on point. We got to really be, you know, locked in, with the spirit, and continuously put our best foot forward. Okay. Because it's not going to get any easy. Things about to get very challenging for all of us, But as long as we do what the scriptures say to do, you know, we should never fall, man. Plain and simple. All right, bear me 1 second. This is First Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 1. It says, "But of the times and seasons, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night." Right, because we're watching. Okay, we're paying attention to what's going on. We're alert. We're circumspect. Okay, we're not out here walking around like a bunch of fools. Okay, not regarding the time, not regarding what's going on. Okay, because what do Yahushua say? Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. We gotta be wise when we amongst these animals out here, man. Like if you walk in and you see a dog, a vicious pit bull, it's not wise to taunt a wild beast. Okay, it's not wise to do that because that beast can tear your ass apart, man. So that's how we gotta be in this society, man. Because danger is at every fucking corner here, man. Like I did my last video speaking about, that narrow path. In the Apocrypha, it speaks about one side is fire and the other side is water and set in a dangerous place. That's how we gotta move, man. That's how we gotta move in this truth. We gotta move with precaution, man. You gotta be very careful. We gotta be very careful in how we move, how we conversate, how we talk amongst these people. You can't be in that super duper Israelite spirit, and when you navigate in this world, man, because you don't want to bring things, you don't want to bring hell upon yourself. Here it is, us simply going out there teaching the word and simply believing in what we believe. People are already opposed to us. So why add to that? Why put ourselves in situations that's unnecessary? The scriptures speak about us being tried in fire. Yeah, you're going to catch hell, but you don't want to be the reason why, you adding unto your hell, man. Because that's foolishness, man. So if the Lord, bless you with a job or, a nice little job where, it works for your schedule, you're able to do the work, you might have to deal, but it's a balance. You might have to deal with assholes on your job, motherfuckers trying to give you issues or whatever and whatnot. That's not no excuse to crash out and do something stupid. It's all a test at the end of the day. And nothing's supposed to be easy anyway. And the scriptures say, through much tribulation shall we enter into the kingdom of heaven. So that's just a part of the journey. But the point is, the mind frame is that hastening the day of the Lord. Being in the spirit of being enthusiastic about the Lord's return, looking forward to the Lord's return. And we know we're close, man. We're very close. All right. It says, "But of the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them. Right. And that's the narrative they always push. Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to bounce back. Okay. And that's how you listen to Donald Trump, DJ Trump, when you hear him speak, that's pretty much his what he likes to say. He likes to push that narrative. America's doing great. Economy's doing. That's all he says, man. And the average person that's here in America, those that have a brain that works, can see that that's bullshit, man. Okay, a lot of people are hurting. Homelessness is at an all-time high. Here it is. How is this the greatest country? People call this the greatest country on the earth, right? You got the richest nation, but you have a homelessness problem, man. You got all these major cities in Babylon, in America, and the homeless rate is very high, okay? And you got the living situation. You got rent that's very high, okay? Like I said, people are having to resort to move in with their families because their job ain't cutting it. It's just not cutting it. They're not able to pay. People are struggling to pay minor bills. People are struggling to pay gas bills, water bills, man. People are struggling just to keep the goddamn lights on, let alone rent. Because after you pay your the rent, that's the main thing. But after you pay your rent, you gotta pay all these other bills, and then wherever bill you have to pay, it may take away from the other bill that you have to pay. So people are getting fed up, man. People are getting tired of this goddamn hamster wheel. Something's gonna have to give. And we know that's coming. It's Second Ezra, the 15th chapter, sedition among men. Okay, you have people out here invading one another. That's coming, man. That's not a far-fetched thing. So a lot of these people out here, they're starting to realize that all this shit is bullshit out here, man. That so-called American dream, that prosperity, all that shit is slowly but surely vanishing in these people's head, man. You got people out here that's resorting to living in a van. RV. People are buying RVs. People are just saying, fuck it, man, because, ain't no hope out here, man, except for the elect of the nation of Israel. All right, getting back, this back in 1 Thessalonians 5:3, it says, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that day shall overtake you as a thief. So, right, because we're in the know. We watching. We seeing what's going on. Okay? And we're bracing for it. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean we're not going to catch hell. Yeah, we're going to catch hell. We're going to be tried. We're going to be challenged. Okay? But the advantage of that is knowing that why these things are transparent, because these people out here that don't know what the hell is going on, it's going to hit them that much more harder, man. Okay? They're going to, when they get hit unawares, that blow is going to hit harder. It's going to be way more devastating, because a lot of these people out here, they don't have a faith in the Lord. Okay? They don't have a foundation to stand upon. Okay? Everything they lean up, they trust in man. They lean upon what these politicians say. Okay, what these the president says, all these these different individuals that are highly esteemed among men. Okay, that's who they listen to. That's who they put their trust in. Okay, so when all these things start to crash and burn, which they are right now, a lot of people they're gonna resort to animalistic behavior. It's gonna be survival of the fittest out here, man. because at the end of the day, these people, they don't have, especially our people, the majority of our people, they have no moral guide. They're not living according to what the scriptures say. So they're going to be out here like a bunch of wild animals. Okay. But the elect of the nation of Israel, the Lord is going to have that hedge about them, man. Okay. Even though you're going to have martyrs, but the ones that are martyrs, they're going to be risen first. So either way, the elect is going to be good. All right. All right. It says, but ye brethren are not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief. Ye are all the children of light and the children of the day. We are not of the night nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. Right? Because us being in this light, being in this knowledge, we're the children of the day. Okay, and people that that are in the what do people do in the night? People drink. People go out. They go to these clubs, these bars, and whatnot. And they drink themselves to an oblivion. Okay, but spiritually, that darkness represents ignorance. Okay, and majority of the earth right now is in a state of ignorance. Okay, and us being in this light, we're enlightened. Okay, we can see what's going on, because in darkness you can't see a goddamn thing. When you're in dark, you don't know whether you're going from your left to your right. You don't know if you head north, south, east, or west. But when you have a light, which is a guide, you're able to see your footing. You're able to see what direction you're going towards. Okay, and that's what this truth does for us. Okay, that's how we able to navigate. That's how we're able to, to be elusive when it comes to, all these different snares out here, man. All these different traps that Esau, or even the wicked of our people have out here. Okay, because us having this marvelous light. All right, it says, therefore let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. For they that sleep in the night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night. But let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love. Right, and sober doesn't necessarily mean sober as far as drinking. Is speaking spiritually, but of course, physically, you don't want to be doing too much when it comes to alcohol. You want to be circumspect as much as possible. I mean, I'm just speaking, putting that out there, but spiritually, this is referring to, not being, caught up in this world, man. Okay, being on point. Okay, being circumspect. Being alert, man. Okay. Don't be out here just willy-nilly, man. Not knowing what the hell is going on. That's why it's a beautiful thing that the Lord set up this brotherhood. Brothers got different chats. Brothers inform each other of things that's going on. To keep brothers in the loop. Because in this world, there's so many distractions. So it's a beautiful thing that the Lord has these chats for brothers to, be connected and, to share different information with one another to keep us, in tune with what the hell is going on, man. Because it's so easy to, to be, caught up in your own little world at times, man. And these aren't the times to be drifting off, man. Because any day, you got all sorts of things are happening, man. Shit can, something major can go down any second, and we don't want to be, caught up in that, when that shit goes down, because we're not paying attention and not being circumspect, All right, it says, but let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for a helmet, the hope of salvation, right? Because this is our armor, this is our protection, this word. All right, as long as we stay close to this word, okay, as long as we, you know, uh, apply what these scriptures say, you know, that's going to protect us from harm. This is going to shield us from all these fiery darts that Satan is throwing out here. Because Satan is letting them shits go, man. Okay. Like I mentioned before, you got all these people out here, they got all kind of spirits on them, man. Satan don't hop on somebody to try to get you to lose your cool, you know, to get you to do something stupid so Esau can be justified and moving on us, you know. But, you know, being in the spirit, okay, being tapped into the spirit, okay, being engulfed with this word, you know, we're going to be able to, bob and weave all that, man. You know, you're going to be able to dodge those fiery darts, okay? Well, we don't even have to dodge because, you know, that word, that armor, that's what the armor is for. Armor is for the, you know, the block all that, okay? All right, it says, for the Most High have not appointed us to wrath, but to obtain salvation by our Lord Yahweh Shai Hamashiach, who died for us, that whether we wake or sleep, we should live together with him. Right. So that's referring to the elect. Okay, the elect, whether they, you know, the ones that have transitioned to the spiritual realm already, the spirit world, and those that are still alive and that remain until the Lord appears, you know, they're going to be with the Lord together. Okay. And that's what we're patiently waiting for, man. You know, that's what we're patiently waiting for. And Lord willing, man, this be the year, man. You know, and we say that every year. You know, that's the point, to hasten the day of Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai. All right. It says, wherefore comfort yourselves together and edify one another, even as ye also do. See, so that's what this thing is all about, you know. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Like I said, this was just on my spirit. I just wanted to do this quick video. Lord willing, this is edifying to you sincere brothers as well as you few sisters out there. So with that, I'm gonna give all glory and praises to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem HaKodash. The honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Honors and salutations to the hopeful elect, wishing his word in truth sincerity. Shalom.